Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So welcome everyone to this In Conversation SDGs series hosted by the UN Global Compact Network Pakistan. This is our 12th. 12 ho chuke hamare abhi, alhamdulillah. So we are now in conversation on Sustainable Development Goal 12, which is responsible consumption and production. And today we are in conversation with some really amazing people who are really making great strides in moving forward progress on the SDGs. Dr. Kiran Jamal, who is Assistant Professor at the Institute of Business Management, and Irfan Abdullah, who's Director of Specialized Business Services. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to both of you. Just, these conversations are literally that. They're designed to be a gupshup, catch up, sharing stories and insights. So make yourself feel at home, comfortable, and really we're just going to talk about some of the things that we already know about the Sustainable Development Goals, but also what you're doing to progress them at an individual level, but also at the company level or organization level. And we'll be trying to do a bit of a deep dive into some of the journey that you've had to understand not just the successes, but also the challenges that you've met along the way. And the reason we do that is so that we can help guide people who are part of our member network and outside of that as well, to really help navigate their journeys on the SDGs and progress towards 2030. So this In Conversation series is our response to the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres' call to action that he made last year at the UN General Assembly. And this In Conversation series is essentially a hub that brings stakeholders from civil society, government, business, academia, and the whole plethora of people doing so many amazing things in the world of enterprise and technology together to be able to move forward this agenda for sustainability and impact. The conversations, as I've already said to you both, are casual conversations. So there's no interview per se. There's no traditional kind of Q&A. It's I'll throw some points to you, but really we're trying to get under the hood of what it is that you've been doing so that we can inspire and motivate others at an individual level, but also at an organization level to then use this as a catalyst or springboard to then move forward on their own journeys or start their journey. For those listening in live right now and later on the recorded session, don't forget that you can reach out to Dr. Kiran and Irfan Sab via LinkedIn. So just Google search, I guess, and connect with them. And you'll be able to read about all of their profiles, etc. And if you're posting on social media, then there are some hashtags to remember. So Uniting Business, Leave No One Behind, COP26, and obviously GCNP. And if you're tweeting, then there are some other handles to remember, which is 1UN and the SDGs. So let's get started. So in no particular order, but Kiran, I'll start with you first. Really trying to understand why these SDGs or sustainability and this particular goal is important to you. So could you just share just a couple of thoughts of what it is that inspires you to work on the SDGs and why Global Goal 12 is personal to you and important to you, and why do you think it's something that we should all be sort of looking at? Just a few thoughts, and then Irfan Sahab, I'll come to you.
Assalamu alaikum all. I hope you are all fine here. As far as my introduction is concerned, actually, I've done my PhD in commerce. So being in commercial, so there's the 3-4 factor of production we have, the lane, labor, and cost of care we have. So when we are talking about the production process, so when we are talking about these days, actually, we require as we all know, the resources are scarce here. Okay, so in a scarce resources, how efficiently or how we are performing or produce our products or consume our available resources in a scarcity way. So definitely being in commercial, it's my matter of concern, my whole career, that how can we produce or how can we consume that scarce resources in that efficient way where we can utilize the maximum level. Okay, so that's the things push me to work on it and research on it, this topic. Or when we are talking about the sustainable or the custom responsible production and consumption, so first I want to talk about the sustainable production actually. Basically, the manufacturing of goods and services in an ethical and sustainable way to minimize the waste and pollution. That support actually the aim is that basically support long-term sustainability and surrounding for the communities and the natural environment. That's the basically production process we are as a commercial we focus on. So if we are using our limited resources in a that way that we are using the maximum benefit on it, so that's the responsible production in my mind. I have considered in my research as well. So definitely that's the things actually push me to use the production method actually that definitely provide the way how we produce the goods and services with the scarce resources and that curtail or that minimize or they can hurt the environment as well. That's the way when we're talking about the carbon dioxide exit, which is CO2 emission as well, that hurt the environment. So if I'm producing any of the goods or services, so use that method that basically reduce the environmental degradation as well. So that's the point I'm focusing on these days. To how can we produce the goods and services in a way that they can minimize the environmental degradation?
Right. So I'm sensing that आपका जो passion है या what's guiding you as a north star is climate basically.
Yes.
Yeah. अगर हमने इस चीज पे ध्यान नहीं दिया in terms of our production and our consumption, then there's going to be a net negative effect on impact on the environment that we're in, land actually, and obviously countries like Pakistan with agriculture being a significant part of the economy. Then obviously land degradation and utilization plays an important part. So I'm sensing that आपका जो driver है, इसको क्यों करना चाहिए is because you feel that with a sense of passion and burden.
That's the point. That's the point. That's the point.
Irfan साहब, आपके लिए, why is the SDG 12 important to you in what it sits in and what it does? But also, why do you feel the SDGs are important generally? I mean, करना है तो हम बहुत सारी चीजें कर सकते हैं. Why do we need a specific SDG to tell us what to do?
Well, if you talk about the SDGs in general, everybody has ideas about how to improve the world to a better place and what they can do. Their ideas are usually limited to their experiences, their knowledge, and nobody in the world can claim that they have knowledge about anything and everything in totality. So these SDGs are more or less based on common sense, the general perception of things, but after a lot of consideration by some of the best minds in the world to formulate, to articulate them in a manner that they become cohesive, supporting to each other, and tries to cover most of the aspects that are required in any given area. So they are just better worded, better formulated by some of the best minds in the world combined together. As far sorry,
please continue. Yeah.
As far as the SDG 12 is concerned, my connection with it is more, or the inspiration for it is more on the spiritual level. I try, at least try, to look at things from a religion's perspective. And to me, it seems that our religion, on an overall totality level, gives us the impression or the understanding that every resource that is available to us on this earth or anywhere during our lifetime is a loan or a safekeeping, or basically, if you call that, amanat, and that we have to feel accountable for whatever we use, especially the ones which are beyond our needs and takes us into wants or wastage side. So we have to be careful. Just an example of that is a hadith. I've tried to find the exact number, I couldn't, but the gist of it is that even if you are doing a wuzu on the shore of a river which is already flowing, don't waste water. So that is the emphasis on the spiritual level about wastage and how we can do more efficiently with the lesser amount of resources, because these resources are not just ours, but of everybody and for everybody, and we have to be jawabdeh and accountable for it, whatever we use. So that
Right.
is my connection.
No, I think that's a valid point that you've raised, and I think hum bhul jate hain ki, there's spiritual connectivity to everything that we do in our lives, whatever your beliefs and whatever your direction. And again, I'm sensing from just listening to you and observing your kind of direction that there's an inherent part of us that needs to be looking after the environments that we take from. And I think, responsibility comes as a natural kind of value mechanism that we grow up with, generally speaking. But also just back to your earlier point, Irfan Bhai, of, what the SDGs are. I think, you've summed it up very beautifully. And the SDGs provide this universal framework now for all of us. And that's every part of society, business, individuals, government, civil society, academia, to really collaboratively and collectively work together to progress all of these points that you've both highlighted in addressing some of the issues that have become priorities. So things like climate issues, hunger, poverty, gender. So ye sari jo cheezein hai, I think we've grown up with them anyway in our own value system, especially in countries like Pakistan, Southeast Asia, where they're perhaps a little bit more apparent in our day-to-day living. And now this framework of sustainability and SDGs really brings it all together. So I'm really delighted that, people like yourself are really kind of underpinning this as part of a value mechanism. Obviously, there's a lot more work that we still have to do. And we've got this little window of 2030 to get to before we feel we can really make a significant stride. But progress is really great. And I think we still have a long way to go. But, conversations like these and actions that you guys are taking will really help move forward what we're doing. Jo land ki jo issues hai, and we talk about, responsible consumption and the issues and challenges that we have around it. How can we as individuals, or what have you done at your home level and at your organization level to be a bit more responsible about the consumption of products and services? So, for example, are there any products and services that you're using now in a different way than perhaps just pehle kar rahe the? I know most people will say hum recycle kar rahe and things like that, but above and beyond, is there anything that you can share that you're doing both at home and at organizational level? ताकि हमारे जो listeners है उनको भी थोड़ा समझ आए कि अच्छा हम भी ये कर सकते हैं, or this is something I can implement in my workplace and really move forward my sense of responsibility on consumption. Kiran, आप बताइए.
Okay. First, I will agree with Dr. Irfan Saab as well. He's saying that being a responsible stakeholder of our society is definitely our responsibility to use the scarce resources in a mannerable way. First. Second thing is that when we are talking about the responsible consumption, actually, so as in business organization or as an institution, actually, we are not just established the criteria for responsible consumption, that is the things that's the steps or that's the specific criteria to behave or to behave ethically or responsible, but again developing their products and services in such a way that build from eco-friendly material, okay, and sustainable production practices, but also design your product that not only eco-friendly material based on eco material, but also the extended environmental and social impact. Basically, your produced material, your produced products or services is based on the extended environmental and social impact as well. When they have consumed, actually, if you are using this product, if I'm being a consumer of that eco-friendly product, if I'm a consumer, so if I use that particular product, it's directly or socially puts a strong and sustainable, we can say the consumption, everyone consumer of that particular product. I feel that puts a very strong impact on the society as well, and being a consumer in my perspective as well. So if you any of the product you are using based on the eco-friendly environment, so you see that any products are based on these, that's a wrapping is for eco-friendly, that's wrapping is recycle is material. So it's but this message is puts a perception, strong perception on the consumer mind as well. So rather they are push or rather they are throwing the wrapper any of the day, they can use or recycle it. Same as being an organization, some of the malls and some of the markets basically it referred the use of the plastic bag as well, based on, or they are serving their the different hotels in Pakistan, they are serving their foods in a eco-friendly hotel. They are recyclable plates or so on, recyclable glasses as well. So basically, if you throw it any of the recyclable, talking about the recyclable products, so definitely it puts a very strong impact on the environment as well. Because these are the creating the garbage as well.
Yeah, so recycling, repurposing of products, materials, जो हम घर में इस्तेमाल करते हैं या businesses में.
Again, use. Sorry, repeat it.
I'm just saying that what I'm hearing is that recycling and repurposing of materials, so hard plastic goods, for example, or consumables, is one part. But और क्या हम कर सकते हैं हमारी जिंदगी में? What other steps do you think we could take to really address some of these issues as well? What could we do more than recycling? Because recycling का issue तो ये है कि the item has already been produced, right? फिर उसको हम recycle या repurpose करें. What do you think we could do in our everyday lives as individuals or as businesses that could perhaps change that? And one of we have some questions coming in, and okay. By the way, anyone listening in, if you do have a question for any of our panelists and you'd like me to frame, then please just drop that in the chat box. I think that's on the left column, and then Nuzib will pick that up. Ek sawal aaya tha social media ke through, so I'll just reframe that. Essentially asking, can we change our mindsets to move away from good-looking packaging? So, for example, जब हम supermarket से या कोई भी दुकान से चीजें खरीदते, when we buy stuff, we look at the product and we think that looks interesting or attractive to me. I would like to purchase that product. अगर वो सारे products पे वो packaging हट जाता है, तो there's less packaging material being used, but also there's less ink and color being used, which is then going back into the environment. So your point of degradation. Do you think as consumers, or I ask you, would you then buy a product जिस पे कुछ लिखा हुआ नहीं है, सिर्फ bold type में लिखा हुआ है washing powder या soap या toothpaste? Would you buy products like that, or do you still feel compelled to buy things that look better?
So why we are talking about the packaging style or changing the perception, basically when we are talking about the packaging, it's obviously the customer mind, there's a perception that they are attracted for that, or if you are not packaging any of the item, it's not bad, so it's a means that there is a copy or there's a fake product as well. So first, when we are using the less material packaging, first try to wrap it for the recyclable items first. It's maybe the option. Okay, use the packaging material from the recyclable item, or that's the if you are removing any of the packaging itself. खत्म ही करनी है जब packaging को, so definitely the strong campaign is required.
So for
strong social campaign is required.
Right. So what I'm hearing
To create the awareness about it, yeah, that's the way. That's a huge packaging is required. That's hard than market.
So this is one aspect. So for institutions and organizations that are in production of consumable goods, washing powder company एक example लिया है, और भी बहुत सारी चीजें, that there really needs to be some alignment of awareness, marketing, and education and communication alongside product packaging as well. Because as you rightly said, inherently हमारा दिमाग वहाँ पे जाता है कि अगर इस पे original packaging nahi hai, so it must be an inferior good or perhaps even counterfeit as well. Irfan Sab, what's your view? What have you been doing at home and at the workplace to reduce your footprint? Not just recycling and repurposing. Aapne kuch innovatively koi cheez kya hai? I mean, really, our listeners want to hear about the things that everyday people don't do, but everyday people could do. So something really innovative or exciting that we know, hum to ghar mein ye kar rahe hain, and it's, oh my gosh, game changer.
These are things which are not to be done only in an altruistic or only as an environment friend kind of. They are always tied to the economics of your expense. And in many cases, they are very obvious. They have a very direct link. You do this, you save this. But in many cases, the connection becomes a little more in a roundabout manner, or becomes more on a societal level. You may not be saving as much as the society in general may be benefiting out of that action. Like planting a tree, the society benefits more. You probably will not get its fruit, even if it's a fruit tree in your lifetime. But the societal impact is much greater. So some of those. On a personal level, what I have tried to inculcate in my home is little concepts like carpooling. Everybody has to go everywhere. So we in the morning when we wake up, we ask, what is your plan? What is your plan? What is your plan? And wherever the carpooling can be done within the household, we do that. Where it is difficult, the kids try to talk to their friends. Maybe I can pick you today and you can drop me tomorrow, and things like that. That, of course, is an on the economic side. Even if it saves me a 2 or 3 liters of petrol, the amount may not be that significant, but over a period of time, it brings to my family members a sense, a feel that they have to think on those lines, whatever they do in their lives. Right now, it's just going to school or coming from office. Later on, it's going to be much bigger things. We try to do that. LED lights, they save money, but yes, they also save. So we have made a conscious effort that whatever bulbs need to be replaced has to be the LED. It cannot be anything else. We were discussing yesterday with our kids.
I think थोड़ा से time delay है connectivity के साथ. Just give Irfan Sab a moment.
Sorry to interrupt. We have one question in between. So the question, it is a very good question. Like one of the participants has asked, in Pakistan, water is the biggest issue regarding sustainability, and factories are extracting water and not treating up to mark, and every year water table become down. What measures should be taken that leads towards sustainability? So if we ask this question from Mr. Irfan, or if Dr. Kiran wants to answer this question, it would be good.
Kiran, I think Irfan Sab is just trying to reconnect. So
first, when we are talking about our countries, basically the industrial waste we have, or when we are using the industrial material or the wastage of water, first, the water pollution actually is a very huge problem these days. Are excessive. I don't think so. There is a rainy system in Pakistan. There is huge dam. Their water conservation is very high in Pakistan as well, and the reservation also. But what are the things that why these water is very wastage and they are not in a condition that they can use in your production processes. So firstly, that's a type of depletion as well. We are not using our recyclable water into the industry. First thing is that use there are wastage of water. Why you are wasting we can say that the water in a situation that they can sanitize as well. Use that sanitized water and recycle it, and then definitely put it store it and recycle it and use it again. Rather, they are just put it in a garbage, and then it gets a part of the sea, and that the pollution is high. So first, when we are talking about first, and when I'm talking about the awareness sessions, obviously it starts from our industrialist as well. There is an industry requirement that we are campaigning, or we are doing a strong campaign from the industrial as well, from the all this for all the stakeholders, either me, academia, you, industrialist, or so on. All the responsible stakeholders are responsible actually to depleting the resources to make a sustainable environment.
Kiran, I think this touches upon the earlier point that we were talking about, and Irfan Sahab alluded to, about the SDGs providing that universal language or framework. कि हम सबको अभी समझ आ रहा है और आना भी चाहिए, you know.
Obviously, it should be the requirement of these days.
Exactly, about not just our responsibilities towards our society, but also the impact we have on society through our actions, either as individuals or as employees or employers. And I think one of the challenges for industry generally is, and I know when we've had conversations with some of our members who represent industry and even government as well, one of the challenges, or one of the many challenges, is kahan shuru kare? We all know, I think we all now know that we have to do something about working differently and working smartly. And COVID pandemic has really offered not just businesses and institutions, but also countries an opportunity to build a really amazing recovery plan that may help reverse some of those current trends and change our consumption patterns as well, something that becomes more sustainable. So I really see this lovely window of opportunity now. But I know some of the challenges, you know, where do you start and how do you then move from knowing what you know to where you'd like to be? And also trying to then look at this from as Irfan Sahab was talking about, making changes at home that might have an impact through economic means, you know, so your pocket and budget. For a business, that's a big challenge as well. And I know for governments as well to implement policies. So we have to also be mindful that whilst we all wish and want to do something, it may take some time. But I'm also hearing from both of you and from some of the comments that are coming online as well, that we all actually understand कि हमने क्या करना चाहिए. And I think that's amazing. One of the things that the Global Compact launched recently was an assessment tool, SDG Me. And it allows companies exactly to do what you're talking about, to understand where they currently sit in terms of those actions that they could be taking, and then move forward in terms of, acha, abhi humne ye karna chahiye. So something to look at. And please, if people are interested in that, please do get in touch with myself on Nuzat. We'll be happy to guide you through that process and help you. तो से एक snapshot मिल जाएगा कि अच्छा ठीक है कहाँ पर है against the SDGs. Irfan Sahab, I want to just come back to you. One of the things that you were talking about just before we got disconnected is this kind of sense of promoting sustainable lifestyles and making that shift. So हम गाड़ी में सब जा सकते हैं, and we work around our lifestyles कि हमने school सब एक साथ जाना है या shopping एक साथ जाना है, or whatever it may be, changing bulbs. They're like the quick wins that we can do and some of the easy ones that everybody could be doing. Do you think, as Pakistanis and as people with the inherent cultural values and spiritual values that you talked about earlier, do you think we can move to promoting a sustainable lifestyle very quickly, or do you think that's going to take some time? Because habit se hum aadi hai, you know, we're set in our ways of doing things a particular way. हमें शायद उसका impact दूर तक नजर नहीं आ रहा है. Do you think we can move across? So I'm talking holistically as a nation, and then the same point as generational as well. Do you think we are stuck in our ways and it's going to take us longer to move towards sustainable lifestyles, but the generation behind us is moving much faster. I'm just curious to get your viewpoint on that.
Well, what is a nation? It is a collection of people, a collection of individuals. Till the time we keep on waiting for the nation to do something, for the we to do something, we will just keep on waiting. If I start doing something and I impress people about its results or about just the change in my psyche that's happening in dealing with nature, in dealing with environment, in dealing with efficiencies, operations, people will start copying. Uh, the problem that in general I see around me is that we are waiting for others to do something and then we will join the bandwagon. I was watching a very old movie of Mel Gibson, and in that he's teaching his son how to not miss a target in a war. And this is like a 12-year-old son who's just grabbed a gun. And he's saying, aim small, you will miss small. So start aiming small things, start doing those things on your own personal level, on your family level, on your mohalla level, on your lane level, and people just keep on adding on to that caravan. He never waited for anybody to give him money to do things. He started with whatever he had. और वो चलता रहा और caravan बनता रहा और बहुत कुछ हो गया. I see urban forests kind of organizations here, which are just putting up forests on a 50-yard and a 100-yard plot. You have a backyard, you are not using it, let's put up a forest. They have put 10 forests in the Clifton area and they have started spotting birds they never thought migrates to Pakistan. They have already started seeing that. The ecosystem has already started getting affected by it. So yes, if I am willing to change, if I am now deciding that I will do things in a different manner, the nation will carry on with it. We just have to have islands of excellence here, there, everywhere.
No, I really love that point, and we're going to use that islands of excellence point regularly in our conversations. So, जो next generations hai, do you think they're more active in understanding sustainability and action as well, or क्या हम सब ही कर रहे हैं? Do you think that there is anything with the generation?
नसीहत के तौर पे हम बताएंगे, just for preaching them of how to be a good person, probably not very effective. It will not. We have to find direct linkages of what it is to them, how it can benefit them. The easiest language that people understand is economical, financial.
But do you think
is personal?
But do you think, Irfan Sahab, that the next generation is more action orientated? Because मैं जब देखता हूँ, हम जब भी young लोगों से बात करते हैं, and this is across the world, they just seem to be a bit more active about सोचते कम है, करते ज़्यादा है, and that can also be a negative as well. But do you think from a sustainability perspective that our next generation is actually more on the ball, as it were, कि वो उनको समझ आ गया, वो बस करना ही है, जैसे आप forest की बात कर रहे हैं, हम सोचते रहते हैं.
They plan less, they do more. So for what we need to find out as a senior generation among them is to find those trigger points. What triggers them to go into the right direction, and have those triggers develop the positive sides and less towards the negative triggers, which takes them in opposite direction, whether it's environment or anything else. So the triggers have to be.
आपने पहले बात कर रहे थे, I was just listening, and you mentioned that one of the things is that we need to have conversations, and हमने share करना है कि हम ये भी करें, ये भी करें, ये भी करें. Obviously, from a older perspective, we've always been taught कि आप जो कर रहे हैं खुद करें, लोगों को बताएं नहीं. Keep it to yourself. But I think with sustainability, it's quite the opposite. जितना हम ज़्यादा बताएंगे, not कि हमारी वाह-वाह शाबाशी हो, we get the pat on the back, that we share our stories, we're able to then inspire others and motivate others. One of the things that we've been doing in my household, and this came as a result of many different things, partly because of lockdown, is jab hum dining table pe baithe hote hain for our dinner, we don't do this every day, but we make sure we do it at least once a week. Whatever we're eating, we just do a 5-minute, जैसे हम calories count करते हैं जब आप dieting करते हैं, हम हमारा carbon footprint count करते हैं. So we say, is this farm to table? So where has our food come from? And then, you know, oh my gosh, हम सोचते कि ये जो drink की bottle है, ये तो कहाँ से आया है? And how many miles has it traveled? And we're like, okay, we don't need to drink that anymore. And it really puts some really interesting conversations in place at home. I have a 17-year-old who's very active on wanting to do the right thing. Just हमने सब दुनिया को save करना है. She's an activist like that, mashallah. And then I have a 12-year-old who's also trying to navigate the world in her own space as well. So one of the things that's worked for us, and maybe this might be inspiration for others, is to have a 5-minute conversation around where the food on your table is coming from, and also be mindful of all the blessings as well. That goes without saying. But it really puts things into perspective, and then you do change some of your perception around products and services, and maybe start buying local, or maybe start buying differently. But my question to you, I guess, and my point to both of you is, do you think हमने sustainability के बारे में घर पे भी बात करना चाहिए, or do we just keep it confined to the forums and the offices and the environments of other sustainability champions? क्या हमने इसको widely spread करना है? I mean, you know, we're doing this in conversation, and you're both sustainability champions, but should we be having more conversations at home, in the playground, in the offices, social networks में, और हमने पूछना चाहिए कि not with a pointing the finger and saying आप क्या कर रहे sustainability पे, but हम क्या कर सकते sustainability पे? Do you think that's something that's achievable, given the circles you move in?
In my personal view, those are the platforms in which you can actually influence. If you are talking on the Facebook or social media, where 98% of the people don't know you or can't relate to you, they are just connected to you for one reason or the other. It will feel more like bragging, the way you said. But if you are talking in your inner circle, your family, your friends, your colleagues, the people you spend time with, they know you. They know you when you are bragging. They know you when you are just telling a story of what you achieved, of what happened. If I tell you that I have a 50 square yard forest in my house, probably you'll feel like I'm bragging. But if I tell you that there's a forest right next to my house, and I saw birds migrating to it and landing there, which I have never seen before. Now that is a storytelling, a sharing, something that they can relate to and they can do. And I'm not bragging about myself. I'm just sharing my knowledge and my experience with them of that guy is setting it up, and this is what's happening.
So I think there's a different way of telling a story, and as you say, you know, if your intention is about telling it to inspire someone,
and who you are telling to.
Yeah, agreed as well. Yeah, Kiran, what's been your perspective in the circles that you move in? Are conversations around sustainability easy to have? Log sunte hai, log kehte कि हाँ हम भी कुछ कर रहे हैं. And do you feel there's this movement? Because what we want to do at the Global Compact is really find more and more champions, people who can advocate for the SDG, people who can become our ambassadors in places of business, in institutions, in places of influence, like you say, in social settings. Do you think अगर हम ज़्यादा बात करेंगे तो बेहतर होगा? And क्या आपके circles में ये बातें हो रही है?
Definitely, being in responsible academia, we are currently doing two aspects as well. The one, being a researcher, there are lots of research has already been done in such topics. That's basically the sustainability, either the use of energy or there's impact on environment, their use of for example, when we are talking about our industrial processes, there's supply chain processes. So green supply chain practices we have when you're talking about, recently you are talked about basically the foods come from your table from the farm. So that's a supply chain processes. If you are using the green supply chain management practices, then definitely what's being an academia, I'm listening these type of researches, the use of green practices while doing in banking sector, green financial investments we have, green financial banking we have, and green practices of HRM as well, the human resource management. The green, they are using their green practices. It's basically the use of paperless processes. So they are basically practice this in this way. And same as when I'm talking about, and then we are as a community, or we are as an academia, we are teaching the course as community development. It's basically in this course we push our students, our youngsters, basically to perform, to run campaign that's based on the green environment, to support the environment, to promote the slogan of go green as well. So how we can plant, there's lots of plantation drive we have, how we make our campus more greenish as well. So that's the basically we are currently doing here. Or same as when I'm talking about my circle, so as being a researcher, most of my fellows, they are working on sustainability as well. How we talking about the water sanitization, how we can use the how can we resolve the shortage of water problem? Same, how can we suggest our industrialists to use minimize the industrial usage? Or if, for example, when we are talking about the shortage of in these environments, so the shortage of the energy as well we are currently facing. So how can we resolve? Because when we are talking about the resources are scarce here, so how can we minimize or sufficiently use this in efficient way? So this the strategic level decisions the company, any of the industry require from for industry for any of the strategists. So that's the basically obviously, but there's again debatable topic. We can vocalist for any of the forum on openly baat kare for the sustainable solution for the industry as well. One more thing I want to add here. In these days, I'm facing, or we are obviously in our news, that one of the mega city in Pakistan, Lahore, these days are very, as far as the environment is concerned, तो बड़ा polluted city is what Pakistan ka bana hua hai ranking mein. So what are the reasons behind it? Again, there's a less of plantations. We have the green environment. That's the way, and then transports. The environment, the CO2 level is currently is very high in Lahore. So what are the possible solution that in the particular industries over there can resolve it? So that's not the natural disaster they are currently facing. Actually, there's an environment they are currently hurt. The resident, the society, they have to know about it, and there's some strategies, decisions is required to pollute the environment.
Yeah, bilkul sahi. We need to look at increasing resource efficiency. Obviously, we talked about promoting sustainable lifestyles. We need to look at degradation and the impact we have from what we do in our homes and workplaces, in our social settings, but also this notion of raising the importance of having more conversations in different platforms and forums without pointing the figure or bragging, as Pansab was saying. We're almost at the end of our webinar, and we could talk about many of the other achievements, challenges, the journey, and how you've navigated this space. So we will invite you back, inshallah, to have those conversations.
I would like to add a little.
Doesn't stop here.
I would like to add a little to this conversation, because a huge part which we just came close and then somehow I lost connection and diverted, is the industrial side, is the organization, the production, where it actually happens. We have talked about on the individual levels and what little ripples we can create by small drops, but the mega kind of things. I Nuzhat forwarded me 2 questions that they have been asked on the forums, and they relate to the industry, both on the societal level and at large and industrial level. Since I have been associated with the industry for 30 years in operations management, production areas. I see that the main focus of the industry right now, while working towards production efficiency and resource efficiency improvement, is on the machinery side. If garment manufacturing takes a huge amount of water to make a single T-shirt. I think it's about more than 4,000 liters of water to make a T-shirt, and about double that amount to make a jeans. What's happening right now in most of the larger factories is, and the commercial washing areas, is that they are putting in less discharge machines using a fraction of that water. Then, because of the pressure of international buyers, they are putting in a lot of water treatment plants, so that their carbon, their at least chemical footprint in the water area becomes negligible to zero over the next 10, 12 years. They have to work actively, otherwise they will not survive, both from a cost point of view as well as a marketing point of view. So that is happening, but their focus is mainly on that machine side. A lot of work can be done, which we as an organization are doing. My business is trying to do is efficiency improvement in the areas which go beyond the machine aspect. Like, for example, we have been developing an app which provides you with all the information that can cause your wastage reduction by 50% in terms of rejected garments or rejected production. How? By pinpointing to the exact root cause, the source of the problem, which is generating a live manner. So as soon as the first rejection is detected, it raises a flag. The fifth piece, it stops the production and takes the concerned people to the source, so that, because that wastage is a wastage forever, you can recycle or reuse or downgrade it, but it will never be the same. And the cost of repairing or recycling is usually 10 times as compared to cost of making a bright piece the first time. That becomes an economical sense. Then I see companies reusing the heat that is being produced from their generators, from their boilers, and recycling it back to the heating mechanisms to again improve the efficiency of water, of the gas that they are using, or the heating fossil fuel, whatever they are using. We are working on an app which is giving the factory workers the knowledge that where a job is available for them right now. And these are the people who are working on a chain system, on an assembly line system. You have a lot of job portals which are providing you blue collar jobs for the home. एक इलेक्ट्रिशियन चाहिए, एक मैकेनिक चाहिए, एक प्लम्बर चाहिए, जैक ऑफ ऑल चाहिए. फैक्ट्रीज के लिए ऐसी कोई चीज नहीं है. We have developed that, we have piloted that, we are now going into the launching phase of that probably next week or so, where these assembly line workers, what happens is, if you go to an industrial area right now and you go outside any larger factory, you find 200, 300 workers looking for a job. And there are 50 jobs available inside the factory, but the skill mismatch is there. At the end of the day, only 10 people get the job, 40 vacancies are still there, and 290 people wasted the whole day, came and went back. An average worker goes to 3 factories. That means he spent at least 10 liters of petrol to find a job. And the turnover in the garment industry is almost 6% per month. So you do the math that if there are 500,000 workers at 72% turnover rate and 10 liters of petrol to find a new job, what does that imply? Then on a societal level, what can be done are the traffic lights. I just see that Karachi Defense is putting up new traffic lights with timers. It tells you that your signal will open or close in the next so many seconds.
Mhm.
But I saw in a meeting in Manhattan on the Broadway, I was waiting and looking outside the window, and I saw that on the Broadway, the signal under the factory, under the building, went green. After 5 or 6 seconds, the next went green, and after 5 or 6 seconds, the next, and the next, and the next. And I saw that every car stopped at the first signal, but then crossed the whole of Manhattan without stopping again. Here,
So no idea.
that timing has not been done. And
Yeah.
by virtue of that, I have to stop at every signal. Just calculate the amount of fuel that we waste, the amount of time that
Yeah.
we waste on each and every day on an individual level. And the figures would be astronomical. So when you were asking where to start from, these are again the small things
Yeah.
to start from, and they
Bilkul, I'd
become
say-
huge.
Yeah. No, the impact of every action that we take is huge and can be positively influenced through small change. Just quickly before we sum up your point about hazardous and non-hazardous waste in industrial units, we did some assessments, SDG assessments for textile companies earlier this year, and we found some interesting progress on that as well. And you're right, you mentioned most of the focus seems to be on more efficient machinery, but also we need to look at stakeholder capitalism and how we can utilize and repurpose some of the energy that's consumed around the offices and industry as well. So we got some really amazing insights from that. And again, that's one of the advantages of the SDG assessment, because it allows companies and units within companies to literally work out their individual footprint and the progress they're making, and then use that as a perhaps a mechanism to chart out the roadmap they want to take for the remainder of the year, or integrate that strategy for the 2030 agenda. Like I was saying earlier, वक्त हमारा almost हो चुका है पूरा ये conversation का, but the conversations do not stop here. Kiran, Irfan bhai, will invite you again to have more conversations. We're starting a series of podcasts, inshallah, in the new year. So maybe we can invite you back onto that and have small 20-minute bite-sized conversations about some of the milestones that you've achieved in progressing sustainability within your organizations, and some of the stories that you can share that can inspire others to help motivate them as well. So the journey rather than the destination. आज के लिए हमारे पास बस यही conversation के लिए time था. For those listening in online and later, again, please remember to quote the hashtags Uniting Business, Leave No One Behind, SDGs, and obviously GCNP. Follow Kiran and Irfan Saab on social media, connect with them, and we'll obviously be talking more about this particular subject, because I think there's a lot more to discuss. Kiran and Irfan Saab, just before we leave, I always ask my guests to think about a moment of reflection. Just requires a short response. So I'm just setting the scene. Apne 1st of January 2030, you wake up, you open up your curtains, you look outside the window, you have a cup of coffee or chai in your hand, and you see the world as it is, as you wish it to be. Kiran, what does your 2030 look like, looking back 10 years? And obviously for you, same perspective in Irfan Saab.
As per my perspective is concerned, as I prop up my room curtains, and see that there are lots of green city, I have the green society, or the era of the vehicles, they are eco-friendly vehicles. There is no smoke, they're clear sky, they're flying, the birds are flying clearly, or all the metals are flying. As we have in our northern areas, the things are clear, there's no pollution there. So as my 2030s, I'm also living in a mega city in Karachi, so there are lots of dust over here. So after that, I'll provide my companions as well. So there's a green environment, eco-friendly environment, inshallah.
Irfan Saab, what does your 2030 look like?
Well, if I look out in the future, I would like to see people not waiting for things to happen. I would
Okay.
like people to take their own little initiatives of whatever they can do on their own, but at the same time be on the lookout to join others in whatever thing they can relate to, instead of के हर आदमी अपनी 1.5 ईंट की मस्जिद बनाता चला जाए और different directions में काम करता रहे. To find synergies, but at the same time not waiting for things to happen to join them. That is what I would like to see in society.
Zabardast. I love that. Collective action. Again, I keep hearing. This is our 12th conversation, and obviously we've done other regional webinars as well in and around that for the Leader Summit. And बार-बार मुझे बस ये एक ही चीज echo होता है कि हमने सब मिलके कुछ करना है. And I love that, and I love that the SDGs are bringing everyone together. And like I keep saying, we've got so much more to do. बहुत मेहनत करनी है हमने सब मिलके, and I'm just loving this energy that I'm getting from both of you and from all of our audience, and through the other conversations that we have in the different forums. Guys, it's been absolutely a pleasure having you on our In Conversation webinar today. But like I said, waqt hamara pura ho chuka hai. We will stay in touch. We'll invite you in for more conversations, but we're keen to learn about what you're doing as well. So I'll be in touch shortly to just talk about that a little bit further, so we can share that with our members, not just in Pakistan, but globally as well. And we use that, as I said, as a platform, as a hub to inspire other people and other organizations to take action or navigate this space. We'll be back again. We're back next month for SDG 13. So pura ek saal ho chuka hai hame on this In Conversation webinar. It's been absolutely amazing, and we're growing in strength with listeners. We'll also be doing a one-off In Conversation series. I think we've got it planned for next week. We'll be sharing those details shortly, which is on the importance of understanding where you are on the SDGs in sustainability. So it's progress and sustainability, a little bit of conversation around why it's important to establish a baseline, know where you're at so you can determine the journey that you need to take, but also around reporting as well, because that's proving to be an important topic of discussion as we move into 2022. And certainly in the UN circles, reporting is a priority subject topic that's being discussed to understand what we're all doing and how we can do better. So Kiran, Irfan Saab, thank you so much again for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you and speaking to you and learning more from you, inshallah, soon. And to everyone else listening in, stay safe, stay well, and advocate sustainability at your dinner tables, in your social networks, and tell us what you're doing. Please reach out to us on social media. You have all our handles, and let us know what you're doing so we can tell others what you're doing as well and inspire others for change. Thank you so much. Jazakallah.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamal. Thank you, team. Thank you, Nazar. Thank you, Fansa. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
It was a pleasure knowing both of you. And,
Thank you so much, everyone.
Allah
Thank
Hafiz.
you. Allah Hafiz.